Welcome one, welcome all. It is Monday, January 20th. It is the final day of college football. I am producer Scott, sitting here in my office in Texas, freezing my butt off because for some reason my furnace doesn't want to actually kick on. We'll get to that later. We have some breaking news. We have some show news. We've got a little bit of everything coming up here on Coach's Corner with Heck and King.
Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Just remember what Ron Hecklinski said today. And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good. Oh, man. Are you kidding me?
Coach's Corner with Heck and King is sponsored by Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance, Han Funeral Homes, and Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka. For those of you on YouTube, make sure to comment in the chat, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Please and thank you. Now here's Heck and King. Also ignore the fact that I forgot to update the graphic. The intro graphic still said the 13th.
Heck, are you live or Memorex there? Oh my God, there's a young Heck.
Wow.
That's a damn Hall of Fame, Ron Hecklinski.
Yeah.
Coming up in March. Get your tickets now, right?
March 19th, man. Hey, you going? Are you going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Will that be a pay-per-view event?
They do. I think it is on the IHSA network.
I will not be there.
Yeah, well, Kenny, you ought to just go, man.
I just thought of
it.
I should.
Kenny can be my fill-in.
Yeah, I could be your well, I can't be your son. There's enough of an age gap. There's not enough of an age
Why don't we do a
difference.
show from there? Like, get there like at.
Well, you're
going
to
to
be busy. You're going to be busy.
We'll do a show from 4:30 to 6, man.
Content never stops.
You're going to be busy.
It's going to be March Madness time.
Hey, boys, listen.
Hey,
listen,
welcome
boys.
to South Bend. It's game day.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's game day. It's 0 degrees out. Obviously,
it's this.
We've got a new president as of about 6 hours ago.
Oh, and he was great. I thought he was great, man.
I'll tell you what else I thought was great. Got our workout in. We got some exercise in. We're all set.
We got our workout in. I thought it was great that Joe Biden was there, man. And I thought that was great because all of the other presidents showed up. And I love Trump. I think he's good for our country at this point in time. But 4 years ago, he didn't show up for Joe Biden's, man. Come on. You got to show up. You got to do what you're supposed to do. I don't care how much you don't like it. I don't care if you think you got cheated. You got to show up. And I thought Donald Trump and having Joe Biden there today, I thought that said a lot for Joe Biden.
Was he really there, or was it just weekend at Bernie's?
Well, I'm not even sure he knew he was there, but at least he was there sitting.
Well, he was there still doing business. Like I said, 15 minutes before inauguration, he was still signing pardons for people.
Good. Yeah, you know what? And so
Yankee pardoned about every migrant that moved across the border.
I know he pardoned everybody in his family. So I mean, wouldn't you? I'd be handwriting stuff or handwritten notes to everybody to pardon everybody in my family. But
think about it, between your brothers, There's probably a reason to pardon them for something. You just don't know it yet.
I pardon you guys, man, for beating the shit out of me when I was a kid, man. Come on. Hey, anyway, we have a great show planned for today. There's some breaking news today we're going to talk about. We have a big announcement to make, which I think is really, really cool for our show, to be honest with you. I think it's really cool. We're going to talk about maybe some high school sports and the ugly side of high school sports a little bit. And then we're going to get the professor, Darren Pritchett, on at 6:30-ish, and he's going to do our final analysis for the great Notre Dame football game tonight against the Ohio State University.
I think Darren might also want to dance on the grave of Indiana a little bit too, because Illinois went into Assembly Hall and whooped them.
Well, we're going to talk about
fire Mike Woodson.
Well, we're going to talk about college basketball too, because there's just been
lifetime contract, Woody.
that are not that are not very good happening at Indiana, or and Purdue is 7-1 in the league. But as I researched who they beat, they haven't beaten anybody in the league yet. But anyway, the breaking news of the day, PK.
Break some news here. And let me guess, pro
Wait,
football.
sorry.
Yeah,
we don't have to.
and here's the deal. Okay, so last week, my rant. Everybody
Yes.
was, I had people talk about my rant about how bad the Bears were, and the Bears were terrible, and they were interviewing 19 coaches, and they just ought to interview the guy that they want and get the guy that they want and stop this sideshow of 19 interviews.
They were stalling.
They interviewed Eddie George.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought.
Best coach in college football.
Who?
Eddie George.
Eddie George.
Yeah, well, you know why they interviewed Eddie George? Because of the Rooney Rule.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, you know what? So I started thinking about that too. Why would you interview, or why would Eddie George make that trip or do that interview over Zoom? I know why he did that interview over Zoom. Because maybe the Bears said, hey, at some point in time, we may need a running back coach. We're going to put a new staff together, and we may need a running back coach, and maybe that's a way for you to get back into the league. I don't know. But today, I don't know, about an hour ago, the Bears did the right thing, and the Bears did the thing that they should have done all along and hired the boy wonder, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions, whose offense, who was obviously the number one coaching candidate out there. And everybody was saying that the Bears, they never get the number one coaching candidate. They always get the offensive coordinator of the number one coaching candidate, or they always hire a defensive coordinator who worked with a great coach. Mm-hmm. Now they got the best candidate out there, according to everybody, according to all the NFL guys, and it's Ben Johnson. So
let's make it official on the breaking news there, Heck.
It is official.
Yeah. Try to get
That's official. How do you need to make it official?
He's trying to add some dramatic flair.
He's got Walter Cronkite on.
Yeah, there you go. We had to make it official with the CBS breaking news. Yeah.
Well, heck, think about your timeline. What happened Saturday night?
No. I get it. I get it. Detroit got their ass beat. Their defensive side of the ball is so beat up. They've lost
they ran out of players.
They lost like 10 starters, and in order to win, they would have had to score 45 to 50 points. And I get that. And so Ben Johnson now becomes available. And then the first day, he's got three head coaching in-person interviews lined up because before he did Zooms, and they all did Zooms, and he didn't even do the in-house portion of the Bears interview. The Bears got a hold of him. They said, "Here's the deal, blah blah blah. You have a GM in place, Ryan Poles. You're going to have this number of draft picks. And by the way, here's the amount of money we're going to pay you. We want to hire you right now, and we don't even need to bring you in-house to have an in-home interview. We want you to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears right now." And because of the fact that he has an opportunity to work with Caleb Williams, because in his mindset, he's made comments, he thought Caleb Williams was really good. He agreed to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears without even an in-person interview. So
interesting.
Good for the Bears, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, though, guys. They could bring in Ben Johnson, but now it falls on Ben Johnson to hire assistant coaches that actually have a clue to know what they're doing. I mean, he's got to have a staff, that's got to be good, or else he's going to be just like another Bears coach, 3 years and gone.
Yeah, but that's why they did it today, because now Ben Johnson, all the formalities of going to visit the Raiders, the Jaguars, and going to Chicago, that's 3 or 4 days. Now he's got 3 or 4 days head start, and they're already talking about him putting together his staff, and there's already speculation that his defensive coordinator will be Dennis Allen, who was the former defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints and then got the head coaching job. and who's a well-renowned defensive coordinator. They're already talking about possibly Dennis Allen being the DC in Chicago, and then hiring the offensive line coach from the Detroit Lions. Now they couldn't hire the offensive line coach from the Detroit Lions to take the offensive line coach of the Bears. This offensive line coach for the Lions is renowned for being really, really good. The Lions offensive line has always been great, but they can hire him if it's promotion. Well, we all know Ben Johnson's going to call the players, but they can hire this offensive line coach named Hank Fraley as the offensive coordinator. And now you got your offensive line coach in place. Now you got your defensive coordinator in place. And now you're off, running to the races. And maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe we see the name Eddie George as your running backs coach. I don't know that, but I know the first two are already in place and trying to happen. So kudos to the Bears.
Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Finally got their guy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Heck. I know. Yep. I hear you.
Slow clap for the McCaskies actually doing something right.
That's right. Let me ask you this, Heck. What if?
Scotty.
Now Jim Irsay needs to do
There's
something
his
right.
jab. What would have happened if Detroit would have won this past weekend? How much of this would have happened?
Well, none of it would have happened because apparently the Bears, in all of their infinite wisdom, had this plan all along that once the Lions got beat they were going to put the charade together of interviewing everybody. And then if Ben Johnson turned them down, at least they had these interviews in hand to go back to. Right. But if Detroit would have won this week, I just think the charade would have gone on for another week of bringing in more people.
Would we have had to listen to rant number 2?
We
would have
listened to rant number 2 because
would you have figured this out?
Well, because I would have said this. Just say it. Mm-hmm. Just say our main guy is Ben Johnson.
Right.
I mean, that's all you got to do.
That wouldn't be considered tampering.
No, not at all. And the Bears are famous for this because the Bears think that they invented the game of football. And I said this last week.
Well, they did. George Halas did.
No, well, I mean, so yeah, they're the Blue Bloods. They're one of the Blue Bloods. But I said this last week. In any time there's a draft process, anytime, and you guys don't know this because I don't know.
I haven't kept up with it.
And I watched the draft. I'll watch till they draft the last guy. But Mel Kiper always has the next 10 best players. And the Bears never draft any of those in their coming round. They draft some obscure guy because they want to think that they're inventing football and they're finding players that nobody else has found. They drafted in the 3rd round an offensive tackle last year from Yale. Now, Yale is playing Brown, Lehigh, Harvard, Columbia. Where's the tackle from Ohio State who's playing every big player in the country? Where's the tackle from
He's
Georgia?
Playing for the Lions right now, Taylor Decker.
Yeah, exactly. And where's the tackle for Georgia who's on Mel Kiper's list of the 10 next best players?
Jalen Carter is with the Eagles.
Yeah. No. How good was Jalen Carter yesterday? How good was he? And we pass up Jalen Carter in that draft, and we trade a pick to the Eagles so they can pick Jalen Carter, and we pick an offensive tackle named Darnell Wright from Tennessee. Now Jalen Carter is an interior defensive lineman that can wreck it all.
Right.
So what if he had some kind of a car incident? He was drinking and they were driving. So what? He doesn't drink on Sunday.
That's standard operating procedure at Georgia.
Yeah, this is not the Boy Scouts here where you're looking to be obedient and all that. This is the NFL, as Jerry Glanville says, stands for not for long if you don't produce.
Yeah. All right, Heck, let me throw one at you. What would have happened, Heck, if Ben Johnson would have told the Bears no thank you? What direction would they have gone then?
Hang on. I have a comment. Q in the chat. Great segue there.
Yeah, no.
Ben Johnson had turned the Bears down. Speculation was Mike McCarthy was going to get it. No thanks. Had enough of folks that have proven to be bad at clock management. And then Q also said I was right for my subtle jab at the McCaskies. So
no, you are right. No, you are right. And the McCaskies, but here's at least what the McCaskies did right. They hired Kevin Warren, who's a football guy.
The McCaskies are they're extensions of the Hallis family, right?
Right.
Yeah, they are. They are the Hallis family.
They are the Hallis family just by marriage.
Because George Hallis's daughter, Virginia, who's 100 years old, married Ed McCaskey.
Yes.
And they had like 10 boys, and Ed McCaskey ran the Bears for George Hallis. So that's the McCaskey name.
Mm-hmm.
But they did do one thing right. They hired Kevin Warren, who was the commissioner of the Big Ten, but had worked in the NFL for the Vikings for 10 years, for the Eagles for 10 years. So that's what they did right. So now we're going to sit back. We're going to see how this all plays out. But for now, until March 19th, Ronnie Heck's a happy guy. When March 19th comes, and I'll be another happy guy, man.
Well, and let's bring up a topic now, maybe, and Darren will help us out with maybe in the 7:30 thing. Let's move down I-65 a little bit here toward Indianapolis. Indianapolis has just hired their new defensive coordinator.
Is that breaking news?
Sure, we'll call it breaking
hour or
news.
two ago.
A couple hours ago. Yep, here we go. There's your breaking news. All right,
I like mine better.
We're good.
We got Kenny.
Yeah, that was the old CBS.
All right, the Bengals fire their defensive coordinator 2-3 weeks ago when they didn't make the playoffs. Lou Anarumo. He is the new DC for the Colts.
I knew of Lou Famiamo, who coached at LaPorte.
Well, he's going from the Bengals to the Colts, which leaves the Bengals defensive coordinator position open. All right, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this?
He is right now, though.
Well, we're going. Who's going
to be the next DC?
Who's
going to be the next DC?
Yeah, Al Golden is rumored to be the next DC in Cincinnati.
24 hours from now.
Yeah, and if that's true, if Al Golden wants to get back to the NFL and Cincinnati is kind of his area where he really, really likes, then good for Al Golden. I would hate to see that, because I think the things that he does from a defensive coordinator's standpoint are just outstanding at the collegiate level, and I think he's really, really, really good. And I had somebody tell me who broke down the interception in the Georgia game or in the Penn State game that the coverage there was absolutely amazing, and not from an individual standpoint, but what Notre Dame started to do. They started out in cover one, then as the play went, they rolled to cover two, and then they did some zone concepts in there, and the guy that came up with or that broke it all down was Dan Orlovsky from ESPN, who is a well-known football analyst, and his comment
totally confused the backup quarterback for Georgia, right?
Yeah.
No, Penn State.
This was Drew Aller.
Penn State.
When he claimed he was trying to throw the ball into the ground.
Yeah,
and instead threw it right to the opponent.
I was going to dirt it. Yeah, just say you made a bad throw, okay? But and if that happens, and if and maybe maybe Pritch can give us some insight on that. He's done a wonderful job for Notre Dame, and a lot of the success. Not only Marcus Freeman is a great young head coach and understands talent and understands how to recruit athletes, but he also has two coordinators who he doesn't have to walk into the room. If I'm Marcus Freeman, when those meetings are going on, I'm sitting in my office reading Cubs Insider to see who the Cubs are trading for, to see who the Cubs are drafting.
Marcus is from Dayton, though. He's probably reading Reds Insider.
Yeah, exactly. Marty, he's probably listening to Marty Brenneman or something like that. But
now my question regarding Golden is, back last February, he signed a 4-year contract extension with Notre Dame. So would he have to break? He'd have to break that contract to go to the Bengals.
We don't know what the
or if there's a buyout or something.
Yeah, we don't know what the the constraints of that contract is. Typically, head coaches have a buyout, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know about assistant coaches.
Do you think any NFL team gives a crap about a buyout, though? The NFL prints
No.
money; they can do whatever they want.
No,
Yeah,
no.
they
If a team wanted to hire Bill Belichick and the buyout's $10 million, hey Bill, where do I send a check to?
If it's $50 million, they don't care.
And
Hey, Bill.
somebody, I read someplace that Belichick has not even signed his contract yet
With North Carolina?
at Carolina.
But he's out recruiting.
Yeah, he's out recruiting, but from what I heard, he has not signed.
Staff.
Yeah, but he has not signed the paperwork yet, which, the speculations are he may still bounce someplace.
Well, the speculations are until he calls Ed Ogeron and asks Ed how to do it. Hey, Ed, you got a $17 million buyout at LSU.
That's funny.
Hey, where do I sign? Hey, give me a minute. Where do I sign?
Hey, let's talk about the ball games real quick before the 6 o'clock hour here. I thought we had some nice ball games yesterday. I really thought last night's game was everything. It lived up to the billing that they had.
Was that a pun?
Ravens and Bills?
The Ravens and the Buffalo Bills.
Did you do that on purpose? Lived up to the billing?
Yeah, right. No, that was just pure accident.
See, I prefer my puns intended.
I know.
At the end of the day, they're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks in my book. Josh Allen's really good, and Lamar Jackson's really good. Lamar Jackson just turned it over a couple times.
And, Baltimore self-destructed.
And when you turn it over in playoff football, probably 99% of the teams that have the turnovers end up losing. But I thought it was a really good game, and Josh Allen is. You know what? So they say running quarterbacks can't win in the NFL. You're going to get hurt. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Both of those guys made plays with their legs and extended drives and got first downs. And I thought that at 6'5" and 230, 240 for Josh Allen. The quarterback sneak. Are you kidding me? The tush push or whatever it's called.
Right.
They're just. Those quarterbacks are so good. Good.
Yeah, now, speaking of quarterbacks, how about that rookie quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner from Washington? That was the big surprise was Saturday with Washington going into Detroit.
Jane Daniels,
going into Detroit and just basically whooping Detroit. Detroit picked a bad day to have a bad game.
Well, no,
turnovers.
5 of them,
lots of turnovers.
Well, 5 turnovers, and like you guys said earlier, Detroit didn't have any defenders left.
Our poor boy John Overmeyer's probably just crying the blues right now.
Well,
there were more turnovers in that game than you'd find at the Old Country Bake Shop. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
No, it's like in the movie Airplane when Lloyd Bridges, the plane's going down, and Lloyd Bridges said, "I picked a hell of a time to quit smoking, man."
No kid.
Jared Goff threw.
He had a bad day. He couldn't have had a worse day. He couldn't.
Jamison Williams threw a pick. Yeah. When you got wide receivers throwing interceptions, it's a bad
they ran
afternoon.
A flea flicker reverse, and
he throws a pick.
He threw it into double coverage.
That's a really bad.
Did they get penalized for having an ineligible man downfield?
Yeah, gee. That was a tough one.
Okay, so let me throw this one at you, because I heard some people talking about this today too. Jaden Daniels goes into a good situation at Washington. They bring in Cliff Kingsbury. And by the way, the Bears interviewed Cliff Kingsbury also for their offensive coordinator position, but hire some cat named Shane Waldron who doesn't last 9 games.
Right.
But if Jaden Daniels would have ended up in Chicago with Shane Waldron, would he have had the success that he ended up having in Washington under Matt Eberflus in Chicago? Or if you put Caden Williams with Cliff Kingsbury and you put him with Dan Quinn, would he have had the success that Jaden Daniels had? And the people that I were listening to said absolutely. that the people that you're surrounding your those young quarterbacks with are everything, and the scenarios that you're putting them into, whether it's offensive linemen, and the Bears went about it absolutely wrong, because the Bears put Caleb Williams surrounded from the outside in. They brought in good wide receivers for Caleb Williams instead of building from the inside out. Right. With offensive linemen and guys in the trench. So Jaden Daniels was good.
Yes, he was. I saw an interview Saturday night, I think it was, in the back locker room area with the owner, one of the co-owners of the Redskins, happens to be a guy named Magic Johnson.
Yes.
And they interviewed Magic, and he said, here was our plan. We provided the money, we provided the leadership, we provided a plan, and we got out of the way. And we let the hired guns do what they're supposed to do. Coach.
What a concept!
I did see a funny comment.
They had a split screen. They had a split screen. Then they showed an interview with Jerry Jones. He said, "This isn't my hobby. This is my occupation. This team, this ownership, this is my team. I don't want anybody else to be making decisions. It's my decision to make, who we're hiring, what we're going to do." It was just two exact opposites. He said one thing, Magic said the opposite. And, right now it was showing the results of how that works. Yeah. Just, put people in their place, tell them what we want, and get out of the way.
And you look at any business.
Washington used to have the longest conference championship game drought, and now that's been snapped and for the NFC, and now it is the Cowboys.
It is
Cowboys.
The Cowboys
haven't been there in 30 years.
Well, and heck, you and I can kind of relate to that. Think about when you had good administrators on top of you with the you had good administration at the high school level, whether it was a principal, whether it was the athletic director, when they gave you support and got out of the way and let you do what you do, that's when you had your best chance for success. But when you had people in there meddling, trying to, stick their nose in places, offer suggestions, this, that, and the other, that's when we both had issues. And that's when it's kind of time to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with you on that. But I had a superintendent at Mishawaka, a guy named Wayne Barker, who played for me.
Yes.
And as soon as Wayne got the job, I'm thinking, oh, man, this is cool. I'm going to go in and talk to Wayne. I ain't coming into school till 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is going to be cool. So I throw a couple things at Wayne, and he says, heck no, we can't do this. He said, if I did this for you, I'd have to do it for everybody. So, and we were standing in the gym when he was telling me this, and then for about 3 seconds, I wanted to say, Wayne, get your ass on the line and give me 3 suicides, man. I don't like that answer. Give me 3 suicides.
Yeah.
But no,
you're exactly right. I know you're exactly right, because like the people that played for us are now the administrators. They're now the principals. They're now the coaches. They're now the ADs. And you hope they learned a little bit and maybe do things the right way, or at least do things the way that will help their coaches, put them in the best position to be successful.
Yeah, and I don't think, and in my whole coaching tenure, I think I maybe had 1 or 2, and maybe administrators' kids or principals' kids, and people, and people come to me and say, hey, and I say, no, stop. I said, you hired me to run a successful program. You hired me to win games. The people that are going to play are the people that I believe will give me the best chance to win games. Now, if your kid's in that group, cool. If he ain't in that group, sorry. That's not why you hired me to play politics. You hired me to coach to win. And I know that when I said that, I was lucky because maybe other coaches weren't as lucky and ended up losing their jobs because of politics just like that.
Well, one of the other things you do too is you find some good managers. You get some managers that can help deflect some of that stuff too. I don't know if you ever had any good managers or not, but I didn't want managers having meetings with parents.
No,
that's when the manager goes and says, hey, who is that guy walking in there? Say, get him out of my gym, stuff like that. where they could get somebody that's coming in the gym. Might be some dad sitting up in the 8th row, trying to watch their kid play. You got those helicopter parents.
Yep.
You got to get them out of the gym.
Yeah. Can I? Okay. Will you guys allow me to tell you one story? It's a
Sure.
short story.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you one story.
What happens if we said
that.
no?
Well, no, I love you guys, man. You guys are like the lifeblood of me right now. I love you. So you know what I'd have said? Cool. But this is one story. When I had my transplant, at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. And at the time, Rick Pitino was the head coach at Lexington. And Rick Pitino, obviously Rick Pitino was the best, and Rick Pitino ran practices, and Rick Pitino screened everybody that was coming in to watch a practice. Well, it had been about 3 weeks since I had my transplant, and I had to live at an apartment right next to the hospital because I had to go every day to get blood. And Delray Brooks was the assistant coach at Lexington for Rick Pitino, and Delray, I called Delray. And I got him in the coach's office. I said, Delray, can I come and watch practice sometime this week? I'm here. I've had a transplant. Can I come in? And he said, yeah. I said, when? He said, come in today. He said, I'll talk to Coach Pitino today, and you come in today. We're practicing at the old gym on campus. So I said, cool. So I get over there. I'm walking like a 90-year-old guy because my stomach's been cut open. I've had a transplant. I got tubes and shit coming out of me. And I walk in.
You do have shit coming out of you.
He's leaking.
Yeah. Literally.
If they put a diaper on their face, that's where the crap comes out.
And so there's managers standing there, and they got a clipboard. And they say, who are you? I said, I'm Ron Heklinski. Delray Brooks put me on the list. I'm here to watch practice. And I walk past them, and I walk in the gym. And Rick Pitino's at the other end. And all of a sudden, Rick Pitino motions the manager to come over. And he's pointing at me. And he said, who is that guy? Who is that guy? And I'm telling the manager, Delray Brooks said I could come to practice. Rick Pitino looks at Delray Brooks and screaming at him, Delray, who is that guy? Delray hung. He looks at Rick Pitino and goes, I don't know, Coach. And he hung me out to dry. Rick Pitino throws me out of practice. Rick Pitino throws me out of practice. He said, get out. I said, Coach, hold on. You recruited John Teague from Anderson High School when you were at Boston College. Oh, he said, get out. So I got to go. I got 144 staples across my stomach.
And you're leaking.
Never sat down.
Tubes coming out. And I walk out. And then I don't know what happened. My ego was down. I got a new liver. I'm stumbling around like an old man. And I'm on the phone that night with somebody from Anderson. And I know who it was. It was the owner of St. John's Hospital, a guy named James Stevens. James Stevens calls me. He says, hey, Heck, how you doing? Blah, blah. And I told him the Pitino story. He gets on the phone. He calls Pitino. He reams Pitino out. He said, you came to Anderson. You recruited John Teague. Blah, blah, blah. That was Ron Heklinski. Blah, blah, blah. Rick Pitino calls me up the next day, and Rick Pitino's got a restaurant in Lexington. And he says, Coach, man, I'm so sorry. He said, I apologize. He said, you and your wife go to Lexington, have a meal at my restaurant, Pitino's, and blah, 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 anytime you want to come to practice. But for a few hours, I was that guy that got tossed out by the managers, Pat. By the managers.
Oh, Lord. That's funny. Right. Scott, why don't you get us a break? We'll come back and talk about some high school basketball here locally and statewide. And we've got a couple things locally we need to deal with, don't we, Heck?
We do, man. And so you and I would deal with them. And I hope somebody in the South Bend school community or the school or the community school corporation is listening tonight.
Medicare plans can be confusing, but they don't have to be. I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I can help you compare your options because I'm appointed with many nationally recognized carriers. With my help, you can find the coverage that fits your needs and budget. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Ledger today to schedule your free consultation or visit tledger.com.
In times of loss, finding a place that offers comfort, support, and understanding is essential. At Hahn Funeral Home in Mishawaka, they've been helping families honor their loved ones with dignity and respect since 1976. With compassionate professionals who listen to your needs and provide personalized services, Hahn Funeral Home ensures that every detail is taken care of so you can focus on what truly matters. From traditional services to cremation options, Hahn Funeral Home is here to guide you through every step. For more information, visit hahnfuneralhomes.com or call 574-255-1474. Hahn Funeral Home, a family serving families. Looking to hit the road with confidence, Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka has been helping drivers of all ages gain the skills they need for a lifetime of safe driving. With experienced patient instructors, including Pat King, and flexible scheduling, Frick's makes learning to drive easy and stress-free. Whether you're a first-time driver or need a refresher, like heck, Frick's has you covered. Plus, for just $65, Frick's offers the state driving exam in-house. No need to go anywhere else. Visit fricksdrivered.com or call 574-256-0650 to get started today.
Portages.
Hey there, we are back with more Coach's Corner with Heck and King, live from everybody's house. That's a new curveball that we've thrown everybody today.
All right, well, there's some more breaking news.
Oh, crap. Hang on. Well, let me get this thing off my ugly mug.
Yeah.
There you go.
Breaking news. Hold on a second here.
Heck, we got to get the breaking news for next week. And then we'll move on.
Hold on a second.
Where are we going to be next week?
Programming notes.
Here's some. This is absolutely cool. This is really great.
We kind of fell
when we
into
first started
this.
our show, we were at Bar Louie's. We spent a couple years at Bar Louie's, and Bar Louie's was really great, by the way. The food was amazing. The atmosphere was really cool. But the clientele kind of really wasn't us. The clientele, they were dressed up nice, and they were nice, man. Guys were taking their ladies out.
Yeah, you and I had to dress up, didn't we? So they gave
that
us
was our
looks.
clientele. So then we go. So then we hook up with Steve Dorbin. We have a little gig at Dorbin's Old Town Tap, and that was pretty cool. The food was pretty good. It was kind of more us. The clientele, people coming in, couldn't talk, didn't have any teeth. That was more our style. And then the West Side.
The West Side.
I mean, I'm a West Sider. Come on, man. I'm a West
Side.
Sider. I got my right pant leg up, by the way.
Well, and there's a lot of hockey people coming in from the ice box too. I mean, there was a reason they didn't have any teeth.
Yeah, but and then someone burns down the place, the inside place.
And I talked to Steve today. He said insurance is dragging their feet. It's going to be into the summer, well into the summer, maybe into the fall before he gets this thing settled. So
wow,
we need to find someplace long term. So that's what we've kind of done here, hopefully. So tell us about where are we going next week?
Yeah, and so we I knew a couple guys that hang out there at the place, and I said, hey man, see if you can talk to somebody, see if we can get in there. And Pat and I made a presentation last week, but we'll be taking the Coach's Corner show on the road to the Great Linebacker bar on the south side of Notre Dame's campus, and just a great place to hang out, and obviously a lot of Notre Dame memorabilia, a lot of sports people coming in there, and they were really gracious to us. We told them what we needed. They were really cool, and so starting next Monday from 6:30 to 8-ish, we will be at the Linebacker Lounge, just chilling out and hanging out and talking hoops. Matter of fact, we probably wear our Notre Dame gear every week when we go there, right?
We about have to.
You do anyway, don't you?
If we wear something else, we probably might be our last trip.
Yeah. They were cool.
Everybody that comes to South Bend, knows where the Linebacker is. It's walking distance to the stadium. It's right there at the corner near the stadium. You can see the stadium from there. The night before the games, Friday nights.
You can see Touchdown Jesus. You can see Touchdown Jesus from the Linebacker.
The tent stays out all the time because there's not enough room And tonight we were going to be there today, but between the inauguration, between Martin Luther King Day, and now supposedly, we're sitting here watching TV. They said somebody they're going to have game day there tonight during the game. So that's yet to be seen here. I don't know who it's going to be, but they said somehow they were going to have people there from game day. I don't know whether it's Fox or if it's from ESPN, will be at the linebacker tonight. So they've got, there's reservations only. If we would be there right now, we would be elbow to elbow with people and we'd be having trouble. So that's why we're here tonight, but we will be there next week at 6:30. We're going back to our 6:30 time period.
And they are going to shut their music off. We're going to have our speakers out, and anybody that wants to come in and listen and catch our show at the linebacker, they were really, really, really interested in us coming in there and doing it. And so, Kenny, if you want to hang with us, man, you're not the linebacker.
I may have to. Yeah.
Kenny, he's going down there on the way home tonight.
Hey, Kenny, it's a different scenario now, man. If you want to hang with us.
Are they going to be promoting us?
I haven't been to the linebacker in years.
Are they going to be promoting us?
Yeah.
It's still the same.
Well, Pat and I talked about whether we were going to take our sign down there and see if we can hang it there permanently, or make something else to where we could put it permanently in a smaller area. But they wanted us.
Get some hats, hand them out.
Yeah, linebacker hats. They were making up. Matter of fact, they were making up Notre Dame long sleeve T-shirts, but the price was really kind of crazy. A little
pricey, huh?
Yeah, $30 some for they wanted $35 for a T-shirt.
Oh,
it was a fundraiser. It was a fundraiser for somebody.
Yeah.
That's a going price for a T-shirt nowadays, honestly.
$35. Yeah, and that's why we don't have one.
That's right.
That's our new news. That's our new news.
That's the latest.
We are going to have some shirts made up. My guy that helped us out there, Kevin Drager, is going to make some shirts up for us. So I think it's going to be really cool.
Do they have fast Wi-Fi?
Excuse me?
Let's hope so.
They have fast Wi-Fi.
That was one of my topics. I said we need your best Wi-Fi, and I said no problem. So
that's Patrick King's job. So you talk to Patrick King. He's the one that set that up.
So I'm going to talk to myself.
Go, man.
All right.
I'm excited. We're good to go, and they'll be. In town. In the center of town. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people there watching the show, and I'm excited to do it there. Hey, what about high school basketball, man?
Well, talk to me about. Let's go Northern Lakes to start with, because if we go any other direction, we'll get stuck. Northwood and Northridge played last week. Huge game. Both teams top 10 teams. Northridge is one of the best teams in the state, and they've got 2 losses in their conference because they've had to play Northwood and Warsaw already. So right now, Northwood and Warsaw are the top in the conference in Northern Lakes right now. And it's still early. They've played 3 games.
Those two teams are really good. Wawasee, which isn't known very much for high school basketball, but they had a couple of twins called the Everingham kids, and they were really good. And they transferred.
And their dad was the coach.
Their dad was the coach, and they transferred. And their dad stepped down, so Sweet Lou stepped in.
Yes,
Lou Lefebvre, and I love Sweet Lou, by the way. And
he's getting a slap of reality over there, isn't he?
Yeah, they got beat by.
Where did Everingham go?
They transferred to Northwood. His dad's insisted.
Gosh.
They're playing at Northwood, and then they're scoring 18, 19 points a game for Aaron Wolf at Northwood.
Along with the youngest Roush.
Yeah. As if they need any more help.
Yes. So Northwood is
to be about 6'8".
So Northwood is the real deal. And Northwood is really good too. Mason Bales is their best player. He just committed to Bethel. They have about a 6'6" kid that's going to be a junior this year who's really good. Scott Radiker's the head coach. He's a Dave McCullough guy. And I thought it would be a great game. It was a great game. They played at Northridge, and Northwood got them. Warsaw is obviously really good. Also, Matt Moore is at Warsaw, and so it'll be when Northwood and Warsaw play. It'll be. I mean, that will determine the Northern Lakes Conference.
Yeah, Northridge was a 50-46 game. What was interesting is Northridge is averaging 70 a game.
Yeah,
I mean they're putting some points up, and Northwood, plays defense. They play that pack line defense. It was 50-46. Concord's still hanging around at 2-1. They're 8-4, but the big three right now are Northwood's 13-1. Warsaw's 12-3, and Northridge is 10-2.
The Concord score really surprised me because I saw Derek and his team come over to New Prairie the week before, and they struggled in that game. And then to go and then lay it on Plymouth like they did really was shocking.
And Plymouth 7-6.
Yeah,
they're having a good season, but they got spanked pretty good, 63-26. They couldn't throw it in the ocean.
Well, they rely on 3-point shooting, and I mean, yourself that, and you've coached a lot of games yourself, that if you're not scoring, if you're not throwing it in from deep, you better have another way to score. And, you better be able to score through your defense, through transition. But when you rely on 3-point shots, if you're not making them, that makes it tough for you. But Scott, put that 3A state ranking up there for a second again, because you're going to see on that 3A ranking, Northwood, I think, is number 3 in the state.
Yeah, I've got
but then you're going to see
too.
South Bend St. Joe,
number 1.
South Bend St. Joe is number 1, and South Bend St. Joe is the real deal. They beat the crap out of South Bend, Washington, 96-53. I was talking to one of the St. Joe players on Sunday, and he told me he thought that was the best that they had played all year. Now, tomorrow night, and I don't know if they'll play. I don't know if they'll play this tomorrow night, but St. Joe will host Northwood tomorrow night.
That should be a good game.
Well, here's one thing I'll say: get there early for that one, because that's going to be standing room only at Alumni Gym.
Yeah, but
if they play, that'll be full. Yeah. With the weather being the way it is, because a lot of schools are already called off right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're called off. Mishawaka's called off. But if they play it, that would be a game to see. St. Joe 13-1. Northwood has 1 loss also. And
there's a lot of non-conference games tomorrow night. Northridge is at Penn. Concord's at Jimtown. Mishawaka Thursday night goes to Career Academy. Our boy Leon won a ball game this week. He beat Hamilton. They're 1-11.
That Northwood St. Joe game, guys, that will be on broadcastsport.net if it's scheduled for tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, hey, let's talk.
So who's doing the game?
Who's doing that game?
Yeah.
It'll be Daryl.
So it's not
Dale.
I think so. Yeah.
So PK, you're not doing that? I mean, why wouldn't they have you doing that game, PK?
Nobody's called me yet.
Yeah. And it's Northwood. And it's Northwood.
Usually Daryl runs those things himself.
Oh, okay.
And
well,
if Dale's with him, so we'll see. Hey,
I mean, I may go over for that game. Just
got to call Coach Wolf and be like, "Hey, we want you on the call."
Well, I mean, Coach Wolf is.
He did call you guys pillars of the community.
Manchester College graduate.
All right, so hey, let me get your blood pressure up. Let's jump over into Northern Indiana Conference. St. Joe, as you mentioned, is 2-0. Marion is 2-0, even though they're 9-5. And for the season, Penn is 2-0. And then your city schools, Washington, Riley, Adams, we were bragging on them, 2 weeks ago, saying they're off to their best start. They had things all over the news about how they're off to the best start. They're all 1-1 right now, and Adams is 0-2. And, last week, Marion beats Elkhart, Penn beats New Prairie, Riley and Adams, 70-51 Riley. St. Joe, as you mentioned, just blasted Washington, 96-53. My goodness gracious. So the elephant in the room is Chad had a chance to come back and coach. He sat out 1 ball game at Adams, and most people around here have seen the highlights. It's been all over television. In the handshake line after the game with Riley and Adams, after they 20-point ball game, they end up having another scuffle. Benches cleared, bleachers clear. You've got people everywhere. It was ugly. Players were suspended. Riley, I think, suspended 4 or 5 players.
Yeah.
they go down Saturday to Fishers, play the number 1 team in the state, and just get absolutely embarrassed. It was, 90 something?
89-29.
Yeah, 89-29. They get beat 90-30. They get beat 60 points.
Well, yeah, but they played without 5 starters now.
They left 5 people at home. Yeah.
And in my comment, so I talked to Alex today, the head coach at Riley, Alex Daniels, and my comment to him was, so why didn't you try and cancel that game so you could really see where you're at, playing the number 1 team in the state? And he said, well, it's a non-conference game, and we didn't want to jam our schedule up, so we just went down. His 5 players that were suspended for that game were suspended because when the officials over at Adams or whoever was trying to break that scrape up, tried to grab them, they tried to get out of the restraints. So that's why those kids were suspended. Adams had 2 or 3 kids that were suspended, I think, for 2 games because they actually threw punches. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Pat. I don't know about you, Kenny.
It's just another page, isn't it?
No, it's pathetic actually, because last year they had the fight at South Bend, Washington, or 2 years ago they had the fight at South Bend, Washington.
This fall they had a fight during football.
Yeah. And it's just
that really wasn't a fight. We were told it really wasn't a fight, but that's okay.
Well, no, at some point in time, somebody's got to be held accountable for this, because you're talking about patrons that went to the game. And when you look or you study that, there's people from the crowd coming out.
Yes.
And some of the action spilling into there. There's the action right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you look on the baseline.
Television. Yeah.
Well, you know who was there for that game, don't you? Heck, the superintendent. The superintendent was there. Cummings.
Yeah. If the
Todd run.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some type of accountability, and I mean, to make this stuff stop. I mean, 2 years ago in Washington. I mean, at Adams. I mean, South Bend just gets a black eye.
There was a basketball incident that happened at Washington, between Washington and Riley. There was a football incident that happened between Riley and Washington. Now we have another basketball incident involving Adams and Riley. You do the math. Is
there a common denominator there,
Riley,
or what?
Well, we mentioned Riley 3 times.
I mean,
and so the comment was,
I'm just pointing out who the schools. I'm just telling you who the schools were that were involved in these, or the fan bases.
And so the word I got was, just going through the handshake line, somebody said something to a Riley kid. It escalated from there. And Pat has a great idea. Well, we stopped the handshake lines. But is that saying, well, good sportsmanship, out of the way, you don't need to shake hands? Or is there a deeper deal where you hold the people that are running those programs accountable? I mean, and I'm almost to the point to where I might have said, hey, we're going to, until this stuff stops, we're going to cancel the season, or you're not going to play in the postseason, or there's going to be 2 games you're going to forfeit, or there's got to be some kind of penalty without slapping people on the wrist.
They
Pat, you coached in the South Bend community system for a lot of years.
I know. I agree.
I'm not really sure if you went through any of this when you were coaching in the South Bend community schools, did you?
I was there 15 years. I can say we never had anything. The kids knew if something would happen, if you leave the bench, you're done. Plain and simple. Just we'd say we'd take care of it in the locker room. Nothing out here is worth the fight.
And I think it starts at the top. I think it's not the principal. It starts way higher than that. It starts with the man in charge. And if the man in charge is not going to make these teachers have discipline in the classroom, how do they expect these teachers to have discipline on the court when they're dealing with these kids?
Well, I mean, I mean, that's an easy answer for me because high school basketball coaches, I respect high school basketball coaches, and I respect guys like Pat that did it for 15 years, wasn't going to tolerate it. Mark Johnson did it for 15 years, wasn't going to tolerate it. But now the clientele has, I don't know if they've changed so much or what the story is, but whatever it is, there's got to be something. And saying these 5 guys can't play in the next game, I don't know. Did it hurt those 5 guys? I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Probably
know.
didn't care.
Exactly. Did it hurt the South Bend Community School Corporation when Riley goes down, gets beat 60? And Riley's supposed to be good. They get beat 60 by the number 1 team in the state. And then everybody starts asking, how did that happen? Well, they had a big fight, blah, blah, blah. You can't, you can't keep things contained in an area where people don't find them out. Right. And they do find them out. So it's a black eye for South Bend.
So all the people, you were down there. If you were coaching at Cecina and you hear something happens in South Bend, where 2 of the South Bend schools get in a fight, the first thing you're thinking is, all right, it sounds like 2 IPS schools. It sounds like Broad Ripple and Tech, or something like that, or Washington and Ben Davis, or something like that, where it just boys will be boys, but it's the IPS. Well, now it's in South Bend.
Ben Davis isn't in the IPS.
That's a good point. I picked the wrong team.
I
could have picked Shortridge or Manual or one of those Howe or one of those schools. Or you're in Fort Wayne. It could North and Northrop or Wayne and whatever. Right. But the whole point is, a lot of it has to do with this restorative justice where you've
What's
got
that?
2. Well, exactly. You're going to talk about it. You're going to say, what were you thinking when you decide to punch that kid in the nose? That's not a good idea. We need to find something more constructive. Let's write an essay about what you were thinking about. So this isn't going to happen anymore. And here's how we're going to do it. And then you're going to punish the coaches because they weren't out there supervising and preventing this from happening. Those are some of the things that are going to happen. You watch how the coaches end up being the bad guys. I can't tell you how many times Mark Johnson and I shook hands after a Riley game. He headed for his locker room. I headed for my locker room. I didn't shake hands with anybody but him and maybe the assistant coach that was behind him. And we were the first ones in line, and we just kept walking.
Yeah, but I disagree with you on that because number one, the coaches are responsible for their players.
Well, and that's where your assistant coaches end up babysitting that, I guess.
Well, no. That's where you just said before. You said we talked about it in the locker room, and my players knew that this shit wasn't going on. Otherwise, you're not going to be part of the program.
Right.
Exactly.
So from the coach's standpoint, I believe that the coach does have responsibility in this. And my guys always knew. And you're talking about the Anderson-Marion rivalry, the Anderson-Kokomo rivalry. You're talking about all those Muncie Central rivalries. There was never that. There was never that happening. And I'll tell you why. Because at Muncie Central, those players knew that Bill Harrell would handle it, and you would never, ever play another game for Muncie Central. Well, I don't know about Bill Green. Bill Green maybe wouldn't have handled that. I don't know. But my guys, if my guys did something, it would have been, hey, this doesn't fly. I mean, we had an incident against Alexandria one year, and it really, the Alexandria kids called my kids some names, and it wasn't even a scuffle, wasn't even a fight, just a little one push, and I about lost my mind. I almost threw guys off the team for a little push because that's not how we represent our school. We don't represent Anderson High School. Guys that played for you, Pat, they didn't represent Adams High School like that. And so at some point in time, I'm going back to those people and I'm saying, so what are you teaching them? Are you only teaching these cats how to come off a screen? Are you only teaching these cats how to hold their wrist when they shoot a J? Or are you teaching these cats what real life is about? So I think there has to be something really, really now either put in writing bringing him together. I mean, so Milton Lee's the corporation AD, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell's he doing? Why ain't he meeting with those coaches every year and saying, football coach, we got a coaches meeting. This shit happens on my watch when I'm the corporation AD. You're done.
Well,
You're done.
When we were there, that corporation AD job was a new thing, and our AD for the city was Nan Tolchinsky.
Ooh.
Nan wouldn't put up with it, any nonsense.
No.
She was an old sports lady. She kept the scorebook at Notre Dame for years and years. Her husband Mark was administrator in town. She had everybody's respect.
Yep.
And she didn't, basically she'd say, look, guys, here's how this is going to work. And I mean, honest to God, I can't remember her ever having to come down on anybody because she just put it out there and said, here's what I expect. And you got to remember, we had a lot of veteran coaches when I was there too. I was very lucky. At the time, Mark Johnson was at LaSalle. Hupp came in from Clay. Berger was still at Riley. Then Debates was at Riley. So we had veteran coaches and people that were established. And
I think there was a shift Keep going. Sorry. Keep trying to cut you off.
No.
I've just seen something here on the Game Day show where they got this Lou Holtz actor talking to Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman.
It's probably Ty Schmidt on Pat McAfee's gang.
Yeah, probably.
That's exactly what it is.
Do you think there was a shift in like the mindset of the athletes in the time between 1995 and now? Because it seems like even when I was there and beforehand, like I know Tyrann and Landon Booker and that group of guys, they wanted to rip Kennis and Jarrett Fleming's heads off during the games, but when the clock hit 000, like they were all cool.
Yeah.
So like, did people just not know the difference of, hey, like it's just a game. Like there's a lot of bigger things to it. Now you can, in the time that the clock's running, the game's going on. Yeah. Compete your hearts out and do everything you can to win. But at the end of it, like, hey, like we all live in the same city. We're all probably friends. Like just take your L, take your win and move on.
Yeah, no,
Very
that's
possible.
Right. That's how everything, that's how ideally in an ideal scenario. Yeah, that's how it goes, man, because we used to beat everybody's brains in too. But afterwards we would hang out. Now there's, we run this, we run that. But I firmly believe this: if it doesn't come from the top and a kid's not just, you're done. I mean, let one fight happen and let one coach talk about it to his team. Let the citywide AD have a meeting with all the athletes at the beginning of the year and spell it out. If this happens, you're done.
You're done. Yep.
I mean, you can talk about restorative justice. You can throw it in the freaking trash can. But if this happens, your ass is grass, man. You're done. And I don't think.
I know a lot of that has to do because now you have so many administrators that were not coaches.
Right.
They have no idea what's going on in administration. With as far as athletics, there's no connection. They've learned they're book smart administrators. They're not common sense people.
No.
If you think about it, when we grew up, most of our administrators were former coaches.
Right.
And just like think about when you got to Mishawaka, who was the superintendent? Who was HR? It was former coaches,
right?
Former players. You had Caldroni and your guy. So that's how things were at Mishawaka. That's not how it is at South Bend. You look and see who the administrators are. They're not athletes. They're not former coaches.
Well, Jimmy Seuss at Adams the principal is a former coach.
That's it.
Jimmy Seuss understands that.
But and you know as well as I do how many of those principals in South Bend are actually running their school. They're getting their information. It's like it's Joe Biden time. It's puppet strings from the top.
It's the puppet show.
Joe Biden in on it.
It's Joe Biden time. You got Obama and Hillary running things downtown that are taking care of things and see that's all. But see that's got to change.
Where do I apply?
Those people can't. Yeah, those people cannot.
I'll bring the hammer down.
Jimmy Seitz cannot sneeze. Henderson cannot sneeze over at Riley without first asking permission downtown. Now they're going to tell you different, but I was around it too much.
I'll say this much right now. Our ratings are either going to plummet to the lowest of lows, or they're going to go higher now because people might agree with us. But at the end of the day, unless administrators have that understanding and have those kind of meetings or those kind of policies in place, and some of those policies can be painful. Man, you could have someone start some stuff and it'd be the last week of the season, and this could be an undefeated team, and you got a state tournament coming up, but you got to stick by your policy. Unless some of that stuff starts happening, the kids today are different, but they are different, but in the same vein, I think that they will adhere to policies if they will.
Sure, they will. Right. Scott, let's take a break. Let's get Darren in here. Let's talk some Notre Dame football and get this game. We're sitting here watching warm-ups. We got an hour before kickoff. We're going to get Darren in here for the final word.
All right. See if you can get Jimmy Sites on the line, will you?
Oh, yeah. This could take two very distinct turns, one way or another. All right. We'll be back. We've got Darren Pritchett waiting here in the green room, and we will have our guaranteed 100% correct picks for some football game that's going on tonight. When the time comes to say goodbye, you want a place that offers more than just services. You want care, understanding, and support. Han Funeral Homes in Mishawaka has been helping families honor their loved ones with respect and compassion since 1976. Their team of caring professionals takes the time to understand your needs and offer personalized solutions that reflect the life and wishes of your loved one. From traditional funeral services to cremation options, Han Funeral Homes is here to guide you through this difficult time with grace. For more information, visit hanfuneralhomes.com or call 574-255-1474.
Finding private health insurance can be stressful. What if it didn't have to be? I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I prefer to personally meet with my clients so I can get a better understanding of your needs and budget. I can even review your current coverage. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
Looking to get your driver's license? Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka makes it easy with the Indiana State Driving Exam in-house for just $65. No formal driver's education is required. If you're 16 years and 270 days old, which is like 9 months, and have held an Indiana Learner's Permit for at least 180 days, which is like 6 months, you're eligible. Frick's provides the vehicle. Just bring a ride to and from the office. The exam takes only about 20 minutes, and you can walk out with your official Indiana driver's license, which we call it an operator's license. To schedule, call 574-256-0650 or visit fricksdrivered.com. Had to unmute my mic. Here we are. We're back. One more segment. We will wrap it up and get to let you watch the mega cast of the football game here coming up. Whether you want to listen to Pat McAfee or if you want to listen to Chris Fowler and Herbie, or I think they have the local radio announcers available too if you have ESPN Plus. But whatever. Enjoy some Black Sedan Band while we welcome our great friend, the often recurring Darren Pritchett.
I sound like heck tonight.
Yes.
I've got a cold. I'm doing my heck impersonation. Come on, call the foul. Call the foul.
That's a charge. That's a charge. You're crazy.
Darren, if you go high enough, you could do our Al Rhodes. It's a travel.
All right, man. The final analysis, man.
He's got a high school basketball story first.
Basketball. I was listening to you guys.
You were laughing too, weren't you?
Sorry.
No, sorry. I thought it was tremendous. I'm glad somebody speaks the truth. Because I don't understand how a local high school basketball coach gets suspended, but we can't tell the reason why.
Oh, we can tell you why.
I know why too, but supposedly we're not supposed to say. Why is that?
Oh, yeah. Politics.
Anyway, could that be the HIPAA violation? I don't know. Is that medical, man? I don't know. But no, you're
a hip ball maybe, but not a hip ball.
Is it a mental condition that we don't know about that they're protecting?
No, it's called HR departments, and it's
called avoiding calling the lawyer.
Man. I don't remember the HR department ever protecting me like that.
Well, you did some crazy ass stuff, though, man.
At least you didn't throw a chair.
I can't tell you how many.
Tell us your high school story. Tell us your high school story.
All right. So Coach Hecklinski coached my son, obviously. And so he knows my son was big in taking charges. He would give up his body for the team. So last year, late in the year, he was playing a South Bend school and took 2 charges early in the game.
I know
the South Bend coach, with my son standing nearby, yelled this at the official: "Don't let that bleeping clown flop all over the floor." After the game, that coach did not shake my son's hand. They played him again in the sectional. I got out my phone, and I wish I would have kept it, because I took video of the handshake line, and he pulled his hand back again.
Interesting.
I know who it is.
Issues we're having right now, I find that pretty damn comical.
Yeah, that's
if you know where I'm going.
A little karma.
And so those are people that that the parents like yourself puts their children with, I don't know, 3 hours every day, almost more than the parents see them during the season. They're with that coach, and that coach is molding young men into being our society's leaders of tomorrow. But you're 200% right, man. You're 200% right.
And
Darren think hands, that's pathetic. That's pathetic.
Darren, think about this. Your kids, from a 2-parent family. Think about how many of those ball players where the coach is basically
dad.
The coach is their dad for 6 months, because they see that man, every day for 3 or 4 hours, every day, and then they go home to mom. There is no dad in their life. So
do you remember Remember the Titans when Coach Boone grabbed Gary Bertier? He's like, "Who's your daddy, Gary? Who's your daddy?"
Mm-hmm.
You are coach.
So it's not a white-black thing. It's a coach-player thing. You are that important to a lot of those kids.
Well, I feel like I got duped for all these years, because I was very positive on the air about this coach now, and the hell with that. I would like to take back everything I said.
Hey, you're on the airwaves, man.
It's a podcast.
Yeah. Here's what I said before Pat starts bringing the administrators in. Our show is either going to plummet or it's going to
take off.
So it doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter. All right, let's get back to Notre Dame before we all have a stroke on this, because I feel the same way you do, and I know Pat does too, because we all tried to do it the right way. And all they ever judged us on was wins or losses, which is what they should judge us on,
right?
Because I didn't do any of that stuff. I mean, I treated my guys. I mean, I coached my guys. I made it uncomfortable. I made it uncomfortable for my guys during practice, because I wanted them to see what it was going to be like in gameplay. But I never, ever did stuff like that to my guys. And I know Pat's like that too. But before we blow the gasket, let's talk
about Notre Dame.
Yeah. What do you got, DP?
Well,
what you talk about your show today?
Hockey jersey, hockey sweater on.
You know what? The Irish hockey team sent me this in the mail last week, and I was in awe. It is their Ireland sweater. I mean,
look at that.
I mean, got his name on the back.
Yeah, wow.
I am in awe. Those guys have been so good to me through the years, and just for them to think of me, I mean, I was blown away. But here's my concern more than anything else. Notre Dame's got to get off to a fast start. The last 2 games have not been their best starts. In the first quarter of playoff games this year, Notre Dame has outscored their opponents 7-0. Ohio State in their 3 games in the first quarter have outscored their opponents 42-0. That catches your attention. Notre Dame's, kind of stumbled through the first quarter of the last couple of games, got better as the game went on. I just don't feel like, guys, you can get into a 14, 17-point hole in the first half, and this is going to end well for the Irish. So They've got to get off to a better start.
Well, yeah, because it's a different scenario now. Because I'll say this, and I believe this too. Ohio State is the best team in the country now, and playing the best football right now. But if you can't score early, it's not like your defense is great, and your defense is great, but you're not going to be able to keep Ohio State out of the end zone like you have these other teams.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's giving up 89 yards rushing per game. And Tennessee was number 9 in the country in rushing. Oregon, Texas, middle of the pack. None of those three reached their average in rushing against Ohio State. And Notre Dame's got to run it well, guys, because I got to be honest, if you have to have Riley Leonard throw 35 times,
they're not going to win.
It's just not going to end well. It's just
well,
not going to end well.
We mentioned that last week. That's a repeated statement for the last 3 weeks now.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, so we can make that statement. But at the end of the day, if he drops back 25 times the pass, and out of that 25 times he runs 10 times and gains positive yardage, it's kind of a different deal because he can convert first downs with his feet. But I think Ohio State's defense is so quick and so athletic that I think that'll be hard for him to do in this game. And if that's hard for him to do, then I don't think Riley Leonard can win the game through the air for the Irish.
Yeah, Ohio State's.
Aaron, tell me if you agree or disagree. If Notre Dame is having to live in the world of 3rd and 6 plus, they're in deep, deep doo-doo.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like a great scenario because Ohio State's got a pass rush. They're number 1 in the country in sack rate at 11%. So they get to the quarterback as well as anybody in the country. And
they haven't been blitzing a whole lot in the playoffs either. It's been 4-man pressures.
And they've got 2 basically Xavier Watts type safeties. Their corners are pretty good as well, but those safeties are really good. So if Riley gets a little errant with a football, chances are pretty high Ohio State's going to make a play on it. So
what's the confidence level in Charles Jagisaw having his first start at left tackle?
I feel pretty good. I mean, he was supposed to be the starting left tackle at the start of the year. I've always been told he has a tremendous upside. He is the starting left tackle of the future, even with some great tackles coming into the program. You know, everybody you talk to feels really good about it. And he is a massive man. He's got great feet. And honestly, Jagsaw is one of my least concerns going into the game.
You're not worried at all about him making his first start at that position in the national title game, or is it just kind of he's a good enough athlete that he can make it happen?
He is a good enough athlete. Yeah, I think he's going to be just fine. Now, there might be times where they put a tight in there to help him. Not saying it's going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than Tosh Baker, who held his own against Penn State. He battled. But let's remember, he got beat out for starting left tackle by a freshman offensive guard in Anthony Knapp.
Yeah, he did. You're right. So
Jagasaw is the play, no doubt.
Darren, I want to ask you something about this game tonight. Obviously, everybody and their brothers, this is like a king's coronation, basically. ESPN's got to fill their 3.5 hour programming. Do you feel that in this game that Notre Dame's playing with house money, that they really have nothing to lose, and that all the pressure's on Ohio State because they're expected to win and win handily? And if this game is a one-score game late, that the pressure could get to them?
That's a good question. I mean, Ohio State had to deal with the chaos of losing to Michigan. I don't know if there's any more pressure than that, having to come off that and play well. So
for that fan base that gets that fanatical losing to Michigan, I mean, no offense. Yeah. They did get a little wound up, but I mean, they lose tonight, that group will graduate with nothing. I mean, they got to win this to validate something.
If I had to pick a side, I would say Ohio State does have more pressure. And I think Notre Dame can't look at it like they're playing with house money. This is a really, really good football team. It is so much more physical than the team that lost to Alabama in the championship game.
Night and day.
Defensive line is better. They have more team speed. They have better skill. They have a better quarterback than they had in 2012. So I feel like this is the way I've looked at it, guys, and you guys can disagree with me, please do. But the way I've described it to my audience, if this game is played 10 times, Ohio State probably wins 7. But that doesn't mean Notre Dame can't win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree 100% with that statement. And I will say this: Notre Dame, on their behalf, their defensive secondary is they're schemed up really well. They're fast. So to say that that Ohio State, and I know Ohio State has great athletes, but in that secondary for Notre Dame plays really, really, really well. And Notre Dame schemes defensively as well as anybody. And so from the standpoint of saying that I think that Ohio State's going to score 35 points, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Notre Dame's defense will play well. I'm just concerned what they will be able to get done offensively. And at the end of the game, too, you take a look at special teams. I mean, Notre Dame isn't afraid to throw a special teams wrinkle out there and make something happen, because if they hadn't, if their special teams hadn't been good, they wouldn't even be in this game.
Yeah, right. Jeremiah Smith, the freshman receiver, he's so doggone good, but Egbuka's the one that's really hurt him the last 2 games. So you got to watch out for Emeka Egbuka in this game. If there's extra focus on Smith, he might be the guy that has the night for Ohio State. So they've got a lot of depth at wide receiver. And
Carnell takes the other guy that played pretty well against Texas too.
And I don't think Al Golden changes anything. I think they're 57, 60% man. I think they live and die with what they do best tonight.
And I think out of that number too, like 70% of it is cover 1 man, which is
which one high. Yep.
Ooh,
it gives them one free, but
they're going to have to disguise.
That's what's dangerous.
They're going to have to disguise the coverages too, because I think if they just sit back, cover 1 man the whole game, Ohio State's going to score 52 points.
Yeah,
and they'll have to mix it up, and different pass rushes. They'll have to do some blitzing and show some different things there too. But you're right. This is going to be probably the best set of wide receivers that Notre Dame's seen all season.
Year. Yep.
I don't think the USC game scare you guys at all, knowing that USC threw it extremely well?
No,
but that was a good measuring stick for them. I'm sure that's one of the games that Ohio State is looking at, because they probably had the most success. But if you think about it, most of their throwing was late in the game in catch-up time. What kind of coverages was Notre Dame in when they were playing from behind? They were playing some prevent, I will call it. And but again, I think a lot of it, they've got to show some pre-snap confusion for the Ohio State quarterback to force him to be thinking, okay, what are they in? What are they doing? And then once the ball snapped, and like Heck mentioned, they disguised things pretty well last week, because they started in one coverage and switched, on whether if the guy rolled out, they were in one coverage. If they stayed in a drop back, they were in a different coverage.
Yeah.
So
I think the Louisville game is more of the look, wouldn't it be? Because I'm looking at it now. Tyler Shuck had threw for 264 and 3 touchdowns. I don't remember exactly the game flow of that one, but I feel like that one was a little bit more close the whole way than USC wasn't it?
And what's going to happen is they're going to get matched up someplace man on man, and one of them they're just going to throw it over their head, and they're going to break one. But,
okay, let me ask you this question, Darren: is Will Howard good enough to beat you? Is Will Howard the guy that can beat you, or can you get to him with your pressure like Notre Dame has got to everybody else?
Coach, that's the problem I see, is just in particular watching the Texas game with their great front. Howard had a great pocket most of the night, and Ohio State's doing it with an offensive line that's been shuffled due to injury. I mean, Howard had a good pocket all night, and his touchdown passes in the postseason, there have been a lot of throws that the defensive back has been on top of the receiver and he drops it in a bucket. So I don't think he is CJ Stroud. He's not Justin Fields. But, Coach, I think even though he's not as good as those two, he's dangerous enough with those high-end wide receivers that he has a better chance of putting the team on his shoulders, throwing the football, obviously, than Riley Leonard does. So they just have so many ways to beat you. That's what's concerning.
How big is it tonight, Darren, for Jalen Greathouse to have a big game for Notre Dame and Mitchell Evans also?
Well, Riley spreads it out so much that it's hard for anybody to have a big game. I've been kind of leaning toward Jordan Faison a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the guy that's been on a championship game in lacrosse and scored a goal in the championship game. And this is going to be the biggest game of his football life. So maybe Faison is the guy that makes some plays. But I've been waiting all year for Mitchell Evans to have a 7-catch, 80-yard game. You know, maybe tonight should be the night. It's never going to happen. In fact, this could be Al Golden's last game as defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that, and I wanted you to clarify that because obviously, you know, the word on the street is with the change that's taking place in Cincinnati, will Al Golden go and be the DC for the Bengals? What have you heard on that?
You know, I read one reporter say he's one of 2 finalists, and Al dodged the question pretty good, but he didn't deny anything this week. I'm just glad Ben Johnson's getting hired by the Bears. That ends the screaming chaos.
Bear down, Chicago Bears. Fight for your right to victory.
Oh, what did I start?
Yes.
But anyway, here's the really good news. If Golden leaves, they've got a guy in waiting that's ready, and that's Mike Mickens, their secondary coach. If he's not elevated to DC, he's going to go somewhere else because he is a fantastic recruiter, a great developer of talent. Look at all the freshman defensive backs he has gotten on the field right away. Christian Gray, Benjamin Morrison, and now Leonard Moore. He picks the right guys, he gets them ready, and they produce as freshmen. So he's going to be in demand. So if Al stays, you might lose Mike. If Al goes, Mike probably becomes the defensive coordinator.
At least you hope so.
Yeah, I would think so.
Let me stay on that side of the western side of Indiana, and real quick, let's jump sports. How about Illinois basketball? Tell me about what's going on with the Illini. They had a good game, and then they had a stinko one the other day.
I am never one to blame officiating,
but you are now.
But did you watch the Illinois-Michigan State game yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Did anybody watch it?
Yep.
Did anybody notice our best player, Kasparas Yakachonis, absolutely getting taken out of the game with touchy fouls? I mean, the fourth one, he got pulled to the floor and got called for the foul.
Yeah, minutes played. I say, did he make double figures on minutes played? I don't think so.
9. And when he was on the floor, they were +5, and Michigan State couldn't stop him. So Izzo has his ways, and he fought for calls, and I give him credit, but Illinois played with an arm behind their back yesterday, and you know what? They lost by 2. And when Michigan State comes to Champaign, there might be a whooping coming the other way because he isn't going to get that garbage calls in Champaign like that. So credit to him. But
they've got to play Michigan State again, right? Maybe 3 times.
And that's the beauty of the Big Ten because you get to play at your place. But I mean, Illinois beat the living crap out of Indiana, didn't they?
Yeah, it kind of makes my day. That's my favorite team to beat. So.
Extend Woody.
That soccer school you keep talking about.
Yeah, the soccer school. That's exactly right. There's that scene in the last Star Wars movie where Kylo Ren goes more, or the second to last movie. That's what I was saying to Illinois. Up 35, more.
Pour it on.
Darren, did you? Darren, I was going to ask you
Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, the Mishawaka
man. It all comes
great
together.
Name out of the past, Kyler. I love that, man. Love that.
Darren, I was going to ask you, what happened with Shrewsbury on Saturday at the end of the Syracuse game? He got tossed.
I don't know. I have not had a chance to watch it. I was calling a bunch of high school games this weekend, so I only saw the video on Twitter. What exactly was y'all fired up about? I've been so football focused. I haven't went back.
Well, he was at the Carrier Dome. That's a start. Yeah. And they were up 17 and got beat.
So he got Izzo'd on the calls or what?
I think so.
I think he was upset that they blew a 17-point lead and took it out on the officials.
Hey, been there, done that, man. Come on, that stuff happens.
It sounds natural to me. What do you think, Heck?
Yeah, been there, done that. I mean,
been there. I don't want to see the end of that one. Do you? I'm going to the locker room.
Yeah. So that story you told about Cooper and the so-called coach saying that to him, I thought about that for a minute, and probably one of the very few times that I talk to players on the court. I mean, they always say that John Wooden had that program rolled up, and he was the biggest trash talker to anybody on the court, to opposing players, to everybody.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and Seth Davis wrote a tremendous book. It was about that thick.
Yeah,
and that was a tell-all book on Johnny Wooden. But when I was coaching at Anderson, we played DeKalb in the Hall of Fame game, the morning game, and that's the year that DeKalb had Luke Recker, and DeKalb was up with about 4 minutes left in the game. DeKalb was up, by 6 or 7, and Luke Recker was still shooting. And Luke Recker came down the court one time. I said, Luke, the press in Central Indiana, they don't know you. Keep shooting, Luke. Keep putting them up. Luke comes down. He fires up a 3. He misses. We go down and make a 3. Now we're down like 6. He comes down. I go, Luke, take another one. Take another one. Luke takes another one, misses. Now we're down 2, and we end up winning the game. But I remember that. But it wasn't a derogatory thing telling the kid, hey, you're terrible, blah, blah, blah. I was trying just to have a little fun with him. And he listened, man. I didn't think he would listen to me. I mean, I was nobody. I was just a coach at Anderson. And he listened.
I'll tell you what. Let me say something positive. A guy I have a ton of respect for is Alex Daniel, the head coach of Riley. Because when all the Riley parents were putting out videos of how they got screwed by the officials in the sectional final against Mishawaka, he was a stand-up guy. He said it had nothing to do with officiating. I think he handles those kids well. He gets the most out of those kids. So I have a lot of respect for Alex, the job he does. I'm sure he was not very happy with his players getting involved in that incident. Then they had to play Fishers with a short deck. And my gosh, that's not going to go well. But a great learning experience, and I'm sure he's going to handle those kids in the right way to make them learn from that experience. So
I don't know if you knew or if you know anything about Alex Daniels, but Alex Daniels played at Muncie Central High School, and he played for the legendary coach Bill Harrell.
Okay.
And Bill Harrell was just great with those kids. But anyway, Alex Daniels, 2 straight years, was responsible for Muncie Central beating the Indians, man. And Alex was a tough, hard player. Alex played like Cooper with guard skills. If Cooper would have had guard skills, Alex and Cooper played very, very similar, to be honest with you.
Well, we're a long way from guard skills. We're a long way away from that.
All right, boys, it's time. It's time. Okay, give me your scores.
Wait,
you two guys in the upper left corner.
Kenny's got one more thing.
I got one more thing, Darren. I wanted to ask you real quick. What's it going to take for Notre Dame to beat the 85 Bears tonight?
Stop! Go back to New Prairie with that comment. Stop!
That's what. Hey, everybody I've seen on TV's compared them to the 85 Bears here. They look unbeatable.
Ohio State's quarterback is much better.
Darren, what's it going to take for Notre Dame to pull off the upset?
I think they absolutely have to win the turnover battle because they're not going to be able to go offensively 3 times, 10 plays, 80 yards for a touchdown. They're going to need some short fields. And Notre Dame is number 1 in the country in takeaways and points off turnovers. So I think
someone's got a visitor at their front door.
It's not me.
Someone's doorbell is going off.
It might be a South Bend coach.
No, it might be the superintendent. Are you kidding me?
Maybe the HR department upstairs at my door.
They came to shake hands to end the show.
Yeah, basically, short fields and shorten the game is kind of what Notre Dame's got to do tonight.
Yeah, that's it for me. And Ohio State played kind of dumb against Texas at times with a lot of undisciplined penalties. That would help the cause as well.
All right, Pat.
You want me to lead off? All right, I'm going with Ohio State, believe it or not. I got Ohio State 28-17, and I think that's being diplomatic.
All right, Kenny.
Got a feeling it's going to be a slobber knocker kind of a game, and
that's my word.
Yeah, it's a good old Jim Ross word, and I just think that Notre Dame's playing with everybody liking them all of a sudden, even Mark May.
Well, do you know who Mark May is? Mark May would cheer for Al Qaeda if they played Ohio State.
Oh, he does not like Ohio State, which I did not know.
Yeah, because they beat Pitt like 72-0 back in the early 2000s.
Time concentrating. Let him concentrate. Get this out, Kenny. Give me a score, Kenny.
I got a score. Notre Dame wins on a last-second Jeter field goal, 23-20.
All right, Darren, what you got?
Are you writing these down, Heck, or does it matter?
This was my bracket at the start of the tournament. I got messed up. I had Arizona State beating Texas. I got robbed by targeting. So at the start, I had Notre Dame beating Ohio State. I'd have a perfect bracket if there'd have been targeting called. But I picked Notre Dame over Ohio State at the start. Right now, I might pick something different, but I got to stay true to my bracket.
Your guns.
Irish 26-24.
Okay,
all right, good. Scott,
another 200 late field goal or a missed field goal.
What do you have? Let me finish because I kind of have a comparison to make to end it.
Well, I'm gonna go. The Irish 31-28.
They score 30 tonight. Oh boy,
that means there was a couple turnovers.
Yeah, and I know that everybody.
A couple pick sixes, maybe.
I know that everybody's going to say Ohio State's going to put a spy on Riley Leonard, and maybe they're going to put 2 spies on Riley Leonard. I don't know, but they're going to say Riley Leonard will not beat us with his legs. I still think at some point in time during the game, Riley Leonard will beat him with his legs, and I say they'll score some points. And I think it'll be a great game, but I'm giving Mitch Jeter a shot late.
Okay.
Do you remember watching UConn versus Purdue for the national championship this past April?
Oh yeah,
sure.
It was like
sure.
It ended up being a 15-point game. Purdue comes out, Zach Edey gets force-fed the ball. He puts up maybe the first 8 points. It's like 8-0 Purdue. And I look over to Sophia and I go, this is not good, because they were just absolutely, like I said, force feeding it to Zach Edey, and he was having to go over Donovan Clingan pretty much every shot, and nothing was easy. And when UConn finally broke through and scored, it was like the perfect ballet of ball movement. And the thing that I think a lot of college basketball people will tell you is you need NBA guards to win national championships in college basketball. And so I think this may end up being an event where Notre Dame comes out, looks really good in the first couple minutes, and then Ohio State's just kind of been like, all right, maybe we'll see. And then you turn and look in the third quarter, and it's like 28-10. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Because I think like Darren said, I think it's gonna be really hard for Notre Dame to go down the field 10 plays, 80 yards and score. If Notre Dame has a very narrow path, and they're going to have to get turnovers. They're going to have to capitalize on short fields, and I don't see Travion Henderson punching a Notre Dame dude in the face like he did last week against Texas to knock him back. So I think
what's your score?
It's been 10 years, pretty much to the date, since Ohio State won the national title against Oregon. That score was 42-20. I'm just going to pick the same score.
Okay, so here and I could see that happening too. But here's the thing that I go back to. Texas is going in to score, man. I mean, Texas is going in to go and tie the game. And
in a top 20 first round defensive end beats the brakes off of right tackle.
No, I agree. I
strips
agree.
him and runs the other way. And it was fourth down too, even if he didn't scoop and score.
It's 21-21. So I think.
Well, Ohio State is the best defensive red zone team in the country. There have been one of the guys on the Ohio State beat went through every single box score and looked it up. There have been 7 Ohio State opponent drives that have started first and goal that have ended in 0 points.
Okay, I get it. But what would Lou Holtz say, Darren? Give me a Lou Holtz. Come on, man.
If you can't get a yard, you don't deserve to win.
I can't even give it to you because I've not had great experiences with Lou, so I'm not a big Lou fan.
Oh, sweet Lou.
So you would like to know where Lou Holtz is right now, too?
He's in
Atlanta, probably.
State sideline. He's aggravating Ryan Day.
I've been at WSBT for over 25 years now, and all I've ever heard is, well, this is what Lou Holtz did. This is what Lou Holtz did. They should do this. I'm looking forward to that being over with, and let's talk about what Marcus Freeman did.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
I
looking for. So.
Fair enough.
And I will say too, if Notre Dame wins, I'm going to be very happy for Marcus Freeman because, like, Ohio State legend Marcus Freeman.
He's really good, man. Marcus Freeman is really good.
Yeah, he's in a no-lose situation.
But here's the question. What will the excuses be tomorrow if Notre Dame wins? Because after every win, it's been, well, they didn't have their best quarterback, or maybe this team wasn't as good as we thought they were going to be, or the starting defensive guy was hurt. There's always some and but. What's the and but going to be? Yeah, what's the excuse
for who?
It doesn't matter what the excuses are.
Yeah, every team that Notre Dame's beaten, people have said, well, Georgia wasn't their best this year, or Indiana wasn't as good as we thought they were going to be. So if Notre Dame somehow pulls off the upset tonight, what's the excuses going to be tomorrow?
I got nothing for you, Kenny.
I got nothing.
Do you care?
Ryan Day can't win the big game. Probably.
Thank you. That is it right.
That's all they're going to tell you. Is this their next Michigan?
So let me tell you. So let me end on this. Okay, I want to tell you who I saw walking into the store on Saturday. The great Digger Phelps, man. I saw Digger walking into the store.
Of course, it was this past weekend was the anniversary of the UCLA game.
Man. He still looks good. I love Digger. Hey,
so when the Irish win tonight, here's my headline for tomorrow. You ready?
Yep.
We're in Atlanta. So 3 months at last, Notre Dame finally wins another football title.
Oh,
like
my.
It? Like it?
Martin Luther King weekend. Why not?
Right there.
There you go.
Free at last. Free at last.
And this would break the streak because Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since Jesse Owens was running track.
He only played 9
The Dead
times.
Sea was only sick. Is that what you're saying?
Or you could say since Jesse Owens was single-handedly destroying Hitler.
TV says we got kickoff in 30 minutes. Say good night.
Darren, thank you so much, man. Get yourself ready. Get your
good night, Gracie.
Get your lady with you, man, and be ready to watch that game. Thanks, Darren. You're the best.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
we'll talk
Darren.
to you soon. All right.
That was so cool of Darren Pritchett to come on tonight. He's got a cold. He's been dealing with this all week. This is his job. I mean, for me, for us,
and he's got to talk every night. Yeah,
this is his job, and for him to take some time and mess around with us is really cool.
I did tell him before we started that we would all laud his professionalism. So we'll slow clap for Darren.
Oh no, I think Darren Pritchett's I think he's the best. There you go. Thanks, Kenny.
There you go.
Hey boys.
Hey, let's call this so we can get our. So we got a half hour to kick off. So let's
get our seats, get our chips. My boy Aaron is ordering some wings. So
they are at the linebacker, and we've got TV on. They are at the linebacker, and the TV camera is right where we're sitting. I could tell it's right above the jukebox.
Yep,
and that place is packed.
And remember, we're going to be at the linebacker next Monday, folks.
From now on,
check in. Yeah, from now on, check in. And
we're going to go at 6:30 starting again next week. This was a special. This was a special time. 6:30 to about 8:15. So come in and see us.
Hey Scott, enjoy the evening. Have fun. Is Sophia home or is she working tonight?
Working.
Well, take the dog, put the dog on the couch with you, get some chips, and have a good time, man.
Hey, real quick, how was Puerto Rico? Was it warm?
It's fine.
There's no ice in Puerto Rico.
Don't drink the water. Did you drink the water in Puerto Rico? Because you won't be watching the game. You'll be running back and forth.
No. Be dying of cholera.
Man. Hey, Pat, we'll talk.
All right.
Thanks for everything, and we'll see you guys next week.
If there's no school, I'll see you at Planet Fitness in the morning. How's that?
Tomorrow, man. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Scott, for everything. Kenny.